Thank you, Jane, and good morning to everybody. How's everybody doing out there today?
Great.
Awesome. I'd like to thank Jane Lupia for her kind introduction. Everybody give Jane a round of applause. She did a great job organizing this. When I think of Jane, I sort of think of my 8th grade math teacher. I knew, because they're very similar in that she knew what she wanted you to do and you needed to do it. And that's how Jane is. I'm gonna just do what Jane says. So thank you all for coming. Just do what she says. Well, as Jane said, I'm the director of Florida Preborn Rescue in St. Petersburg, and I wanted to just talk a little bit with you guys today about Planned Parenthood and about what we can do. But I want you to understand something. We're here not just here in Tampa today, but we're here with thousands of pro-lifers across the country. This event is taking place all across the country. We're not just talking about what Planned Parenthood has done wrong or anything like that, but we're here to demand that Planned Parenthood be defunded. Everybody say, defund it now.
Defund it now.
Very good, very good. Several years ago, like Eddie was mentioning, there was the Center for Medical Progress. They dropped all these videos, undercover videos of Planned Parenthood selling illegal body parts and trafficking them. And videos would drop every couple weeks. You guys remember that? Every couple weeks there'd be a new one. And Planned Parenthood got really scared and really nervous. And I remember thinking, and I remember speaking at that rally right up the street, I remember thinking, this has to be it. Planned Parenthood cannot survive this. They cannot survive this amount of bad press. I mean, there's 12, 13, 14 videos being dropped where they were clearly involved in illegal activity. And I remember thinking, this is it. I mean, we're gonna live to see the end of this. But we're still here. 2 years later, we're still here. Because we are in a battle. That we will win the battle. If you've ever read from Genesis to Revelation, you know the end of Revelation, right? We win, they lose. It's pretty simple. Pretty simple end times view. We win, they lose. We're gonna win this battle. But what I want to do is give us some tools today. As we argue, as we debate, we're going to do that with passion and compassion, with love. But I'm going to help us learn how to respond to the lies and the propaganda that Planned Parenthood spews out there. When we win, we're going to win this battle when we come together, when we're united, when we're compassionate, and when we're educated. But we've got to be ready for battle. This wasn't a physical battle with arms and tanks, but a battle of words and ideas. So I'm going to go through 5 main things that Planned Parenthood, 5 main arguments that Planned Parenthood uses to promote their ideology. First, Planned Parenthood and their supporters say that their funding is only a small percentage of the national budget. It's only $553 million. Now, I don't know if you've checked your couch cushions lately, but that's a lot of money to me. And it is less than only 1% of our government spending, but there's a couple things. One, that's a large amount of money that could be spent on community health centers that are free and don't kill children, which is one thing. And secondly, we're trillions of dollars in debt. I'm not sure what the number is right now, but it's a T, so trillions. I always find the youngest person. Is there anyone in a stroller here today? If there's someone in a stroller, please give them like $5 because they're going to need it to pay off the national debt, the trillions. I mean, they're still going to be paying it off. But here's the really big deal. The really big deal is that money is spent for the murder of innocent, defenseless babies, over 320,000 last year alone. Planned Parenthood did that. 320,000 babies. That's a big number. So let me break it down. 320,000 people is a little bit less than the entire city of Tampa. That's the entire city of Tampa gone. Not just last year, but every year. Every single year. So imagine tomorrow if Tampa were not here. It was just wiped off the map. That's the number of children that Planned Parenthood destroys every year. Now, we talk a lot in the current events, it's North Korea and Kim Jong-un and Assad and all these bad, evil dictators around the world, and how they may have nuclear weapons and they may be able to destroy a major American city. But let's put that in perspective. Planned Parenthood does what the terrorists do every single year. It would take ISIS decades. It would take Kim Jong-un centuries to catch up with what Planned Parenthood does every year. And so Planned Parenthood must be defunded. Everybody say, defund it now.
Defund it now.
All right. Second, Planned Parenthood says that abortion is only 3% of what they do. So they say it's only 3% of what they do. Now there's a couple ways to deal with that. First, they still do abortion, so they should be defunded. So let's just get that out of the way right now. But here's how they get to 3%. This is actually really tricky. Some of you have known this. Here's how they account for the 3%. Let's say you go to Planned Parenthood for an abortion, and they give you anesthetic, and then they give you, they perform the abortion, and then they take care of the medical waste, is what they call the baby, and then they give you some contraception afterwards. That's 4 things they did in one visit, right? Well, they call the abortion one out of those 4 things. So they're pretty tricky, right? We would say that's you had an appointment for an abortion. That's one thing, that's one event. Well, they call it 4 things. So then they say, oh, only 25% of your visit was abortion. So that's how they account for it. It's really all one visit. And so this is not honest math, right? That's like going to Outback and getting a bloomin' onion, a burger, a Coke Zero, and some ice cream, and saying you went to dinner 4 times. Right? You didn't go to dinner 4 times, you went once. You went in and you left. I used to work at Outback. You go in and you leave. You don't go in for the dessert, you don't leave and then come back for the dessert. That would be weird, right? So this is dishonest with the way that they count it, and we cannot be deceived by that. We're going to tell them to raise their own blood money, because we're going to say, defund it now.
Defund it now.
Number 3, Planned Parenthood argues that there is a law that says Planned Parenthood is not allowed to use federal funding for abortion. Technically, they're right. But let's look at the history of this organization. This organization is filled with scandals and filled with dishonesty and filled with lies. It's illegal to sell baby body parts on the black market, but they sell them. It's illegal to not report cases of rape and incest and sex trafficking, but Planned Parenthood never reports these things because they want the money for abortion. Most people in the medical profession that I'm aware of that are still in business seek to save life and not to destroy it. So we can't trust them to follow any law at all. So when people say, oh, they're not using this for abortions, well, have you seen the video? All the videos, all the laws they're breaking all the time. We can't trust them to follow any of these laws. So we're just going to say that they need to be defunded.
Defund it now.
Defund it now. Yes, that's right. That's right. So on the one hand, they say, try to follow this for a second. On the one hand, they say only 3% of what we do is abortion. And so you say, oh, well, okay, if you take away, don't do any more abortions, you won't miss the funding. It's only 3%. You can find that somewhere else. And so, but when you say take away the funding for abortion, they go, whoa, no, you can't do that. It's a fundamental right. It's women's rights. You must hate women and all that stuff too. So they cry about it being a right for the woman to have the abortion, which means it's much more than 3% when you get down to it. So let's say defund it now.
Defund it now.
4th, Planned Parenthood personally attacks anyone who disagrees with them, calling them anti-woman, calling them anti-science. There was a March for Science. You guys hear about the March for Science? There was a march for women. I'm wondering, will there be like a march for PE and a march for history and there's a march for marches maybe? Let's just march for. I'm not sure what's going on. The problem is that when they say that they don't want that anyone that opposes them to not, they say, well, they don't want poor women to get health care. They want poor women to die in the street without health care. There's a problem with that. It's false. That's the problem. Planned Parenthood charges for everything that they do. They charge for everything that they do. I'm surprised that they don't have like a parking meter or like a parking garage where people are like giving people $20 every thing you try to do over there. They are in the money business. And here's my question. It's a pretty easy one. If Planned Parenthood really wants to help poor women, why do they charge them so much for health care? If Planned Parenthood really wants to help poor women who can't afford health care, why do they charge them so much? When women can get this free, the services they need for free at community health centers all across the country.
Yes.
Finally, Planned Parenthood will say that if you are opposed to them, you are part of the war on women. How many of you have heard the phrase, the war on women? Okay? The war on women, guys, is an absolute lie. There is no war on women. Unless you're Planned Parenthood and you destroy preborn women and you destroy post-abortive women's lives. But that's another topic. Planned Parenthood is scared, okay? That's why they promoted the Women's March. Did you guys know there were pro-life women who wanted to be part of the Women's March in DC, but they weren't allowed?
Yep.
So they have sweet groups who are like, we're women, we're pro-life, we're feminists, we believe in women's rights, can we march too? And they said, no, you're part of the anti-choice, you hate women. And all these women are like, we are women, we don't hate ourselves. Why are we? Because it's not about women, it's about abortion. It's about making money off of abortion. So we have to see past the lies there. The Women's March was a display of women who claimed their delicate femininity while walking around with vagina hats. Okay? They were claiming how delicate and feminine they were while wearing a hat of a uterus. This is a horribly sad display that we see there. If there were a war on women, Planned Parenthood would be one of the generals. You know why? Because of all the money they make off of it. And they know this is true. That's why they oppose community health centers to provide the same services that they provide except for abortion. If there were a war on women, how come Planned Parenthood doesn't provide mammograms? Right? If you had a health center and you didn't provide, and you said you're all for women's health, one of the things, I'm not a biology major, one of the things that women have and that men don't have are breasts, and they need breast exams, right? They need mammograms. So why don't you have mammograms? There's a lot of testing that they do not have that other clinics do have. If there were a war on women, why, and Planned Parenthood's against, Planned Parenthood's part of this, why are only less than 2%, less than 0.2% of Planned Parenthood services related to women's health? The case is clear. We must defund it now. All right. So what else can we do? We can be here today. We can march. We're about to go march up the street there. What we can do, there's a couple things, first of all. The first thing, I want everybody to get out your phones, if you would, and I want you to put 2 phone numbers in your phone. The first is Charlie Crist, his phone number. We're going to put Charlie Crist's phone number in our phone. He is the congressman from St. Petersburg, and his office phone number, repeat after me, is 727 318 6770. All right, 727-318-6770. Now, all this is online, too. You can do that. If you get your congressman in your phone, call him every day. Do it respectfully, do it kindly, do it graciously, but call him. Because if we think, oh, they probably know that they should do, no, they don't know. They need to hear from you. They need to come in every Monday, and when they hit the voicemail, they need to hear people saying, defund it, defund it, defund it. And eventually, when they come up for re-election, they're going to start listening a lot more and go, maybe I should defund this thing because I don't want to not be a congressman anymore. Okay, so that's the Charlie Crist phone number. Now that's for St. Pete people. If you're in Tampa, here's Kathy Castor's number. I got her number too. This is her office number. This isn't like their cell phone, so don't be weird or anything, but it's just their office. 813-871-2817. So we're going to make calls. We're going to try to set up appointments. We're going to try to go and talk to these people, and they represent us. They are, told the Constitution that they represent their people. We're gonna tell them where we stand. What else can we do?